Good morning. Welcome to Coffee and Create. How are you today? Thank you so much for being here. Let me turn my volume down on my phone. I've got it on so I can catch your comments. I've got them on the screen too, but sometimes that's hard for me to see. I hope you're doing well. I hope you've had an absolutely wonderful weekend. I always say that on Tuesday because I start my day on my week on Tuesday, not Monday. Let me turn this back on. There we go. Nope, not coming on. Oh my. We have a dead electrical outlet going on apparently. That's okay. We have enough light, don't we? We have enough light. We will adjust accordingly. If I need to, I'll turn my flashlight on, my telephone on. Becky, good morning. Thank you for being here. So if you joined me last week, not only for Coffee and Create, but also for the special edition of Coffee and Create later in the day on Tuesday, we had some guests come in from Aiken, South Carolina with a tour group out of Lexington, South Carolina. I got those two backwards. The people were from Aiken, the tour group was from Lexington, but it was such a joy to have them here. And so I replicated the other side of the cabinet from what I had done on Tuesday morning, and did a live demonstration for them and for you. If you happen to have been able to catch it, I thank you for that. They enjoyed it and they were so curious about Rethunk Junk paint, because by the time I got through with the second side, amazingly, it looked like the first side. So here's the first side. Let me click you over to camera B. Here's the first side, and I went ahead, one of the ladies wanted to see the transfer put on, so I put a flower on. That was what we did Tuesday morning. Now, let me get your opinion. Let's see if you think the second side matches too. I had to go back and retouch a little bit of the classic black glaze because I had a little bit too much on it. And I think the neat thing about being able to layer color over color is that once you do it and it tones relatively the same, you're good. It doesn't have to be perfectly matched. If we were only doing one color, that would be one thing, but we're doing multicolor, layer over layer, and we used our silicone blades. Now today we have a special challenge because the inside needs to be done. I went ahead and painted the entire inside with just cloud, and I didn't need full coverage, just like the outside edges did not need full coverage on this because we're going over it with other colors. But I want the inside to be a little bit lighter than the outside, and I wanted to put some transfers on the inside. After all, this is a wine rack cabinet. So it needs to be pizzazz, it needs to be dressed up, it needs to be special. And in order to get to that, I had to change up my colors just a little bit for the inside. But if you can see, I'll go back to AB. If you can see inside here, it has these shelves. And I did try to take them out, but these are in pretty solidly. They must have used some Titebond wood glue because those shelves aren't coming out at all. Good morning, Chris. Thanks for being here. Even the bottom plate Let me show you that. That's not coming out. So when you're working in tight spaces, when you're working in small corners, when you're working with shelves that were very well constructed and they are not coming out of the position that they're in, you have to adjust a little bit. So I wanted to show you this morning how we're going to make those adjustments, and how, if you are working on the inside of a cabinet, how you can make some of those adjustments as well. It's not hard, it's not impossible. It's not the easiest thing. It's not like just painting a straight panel, but we can do this. I'm going to use, of course, a Miracle brush, because this tapered end, it does a lot of things. I also got out a brand new Miracle sponge. Miracle brush, Miracle sponge. These babies do a couple of different jobs, but I believe where we have to get inside this cabinet and all the way down these inside lines, I painted them with my Miracle brush, but I think my Miracle sponge is actually going to do a job today. So let's see how we can make this work well. If you have any questions, please make sure you let me know. I can see your comments. So I will be, the train's here, I will be paying attention so I can answer you if you need anything. I've got to cut this little plastic thing off or it'll drive me insane. Fortunately, I have my scissors right here. Can't stand the tag and the plastic thing to be on the end of my brush. I don't know how Minnie Pearl did it. What I want to do to make sure that my inside has a blendable look with my outside is I want to use this edge to make that transition. So I came all the way here, I did my white, I'm going to bring my blues up over this bottom edge, I'm going to start bringing my blues in right here, and then I will start on the inside. I have my True Gray, I have my Coastal Gray. This is a very well-loved jar of Coastal Gray. But I think these two together, and let me tip you down so you can see the coloration, but I think these two together, along with our Peacock Feather Blue, and I still have my mix of Farmhouse Navy with just a touch of Midnight, I think we can do this. I brought my gloves. I'm going to try to stay out of your way so that you can see how this goes, but you're probably going to see my head. I'll move you in, and I really need that light on. Let's see how we can do that. Let's see if we have an electrical outlet out. We do. How about that? Okay. Well, we will just move forward, and if I need to, I will grab a flashlight, because when all else fails, grab your flashlight. The first thing I want to do is touch this bottom side. I want to get my Peacock Feather Blue in first. I already have my white base down. I have my silicone blades also, and behind these shelves is a space. I don't know if you can see my hand going up behind it, but there's enough of a space, and I already checked, and my big blade will get down behind there very well, so we will use this as well. What I'll do is I'll get the paint where I need it, and then I will use the blades to move it so that the tone matches the inside to the out. Are you ready for this? I've got my water bottle, so I'm going to spritz. And I'm gonna spritz inside too, just to help it move a little bit better. Let's go ahead and spritz this, because while we have the peacock feather blue, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put that on the outside edge as well. And I have a brand new pack of paintbrushes open, so I am ready to rock this look. I don't want to get too far ahead. You know, I should have done the inside first. Becky, why didn't you stop me? Oh, it'll be okay. There we go. Now, I don't want this too heavy. I have some rags and I have some paper towels. I have everything here. I've got everything right here. I'm gonna grab my eucalyptus, because we need eucalyptus in here to make sure this movement is the same. Now, I know that's wet. It'll be okay. I'll go ahead and put some paint to the inside. Should have done the inside first, shouldn't I? I get so excited, y'all. Now see, the Miracle brush does a great job getting in there, mostly. But I really need that Miracle sponge to do a thing, because I'm going to get in a position where my handle is not going to fit really well. And I don't want any blank spots there. So let me, and I want to get up underneath. And even though it's moving the paint, it's not really painting the paint. Does that make sense? So what I want to do is put my little rubber glove on. And I'm going to grab my Miracle brush. I'm also going to grab my spritzer. And I'm going to spritz my sponge. And I'm going to spritz this little edge. I don't want it saturated. I don't want water dripping out of it. So I'm going to squeeze it out. I want it damp so it'll move the product around a little bit easier. And it'll spread it out just like I need it. It'll get those inside edges just like I need it. There we go. It's doing just what it's supposed to do in there. And it's covering the crevices. And it's okay. You can see some spots where it's pulling it back off, or at least I can. I don't know if I can get you in close enough to see that. But it's just like the outside. I don't necessarily want every inch of it covered, because I want the colors layer over layer. There we go. There we go. How about that? Peasy, just easy peasy with your Miracle sponge. I can even go down these outside edges very quickly. When you're doing a project, you might need more than one tool. It's okay. If you have your toolkit set up with the right tools, then any project you get ready to do, you'll be ready to do. You'll have everything you need at your fingertips. And I find that's kind of important, because I like to do projects on the fly sometimes. I'll get an idea. Y'all know me. I'll get an idea and I'll go. And in order to make it work, I just simply have to have the right tools. Now I'm going to put some more peacock feather in place with my Miracle brush. I'm just going to put it, but I'm going to let my Miracle sponge do the job. And the job is to cover all those crevices, those fine lines, and make sure, I'm going to put my other glove on, make sure that it's spread evenly. And for the finish that we're doing with this, that we get that layer over layer movement. We don't want to cover our white. We want to be able to show it. We want to be able to show the other colors when we get to them. And we want to make the inside a little bit lighter than the outside, just so it'll show nicely. And I have some other embellishing products that I'll use. I'll show you later, because I had this wild idea. Remember last week I was working with Brocante? But you know, we have a transfer set called Cheers. How perfect is that for a wine cabinet? All right, I've got to hold my rolly cart still to get that back, and because it's a sponge, I can squish it down and it comes right back out and it's ready for more. I love this thing. How many miracle sponges do you have in your toolkit? Now, here's an important tidbit. Keep one sponge for your paints. Make sure you keep it washed out really well. Keep a separate sponge for your sealants. That way, you never contaminate it with a color that you don't want on another piece. This peacock feather blue is strong, but I don't necessarily want it on every piece I do, although I use it a lot. But I want to make sure if I'm doing a pure white cloud piece and I use my miracle sponge, I don't want peacock feather blue in my tough top. So I use a separate miracle brush for my sealers, and I use a separate miracle brush for my paints. So this time I'm just going to put some peacock feather blue on my brush, and I'm going to reach in and I'm going to cover this back. I love how quickly I can make that movement with my miracle sponge. Now, coming up on the bottom side, I am going to paint the bottom side of this. I love a finished look on the furniture that I paint, so I want to make sure that I get that. Now, because we're on this second shelf, I can actually cup my miracle sponge around the back side, around the bottom, and then as I squeeze, it conforms to that railing. So when I pull down, I cover the whole bottom side, just like I need to. Wipe my hand off, and I will bring you up a little bit. I don't want my blue to completely dry. Remember, we're not blending, but we are layering. I'm going to grab my small silicone blade, and I'm going to get some of my eucalyptus on there. We're going to do this lip edge. Let me take you back down. We're going to do this lip edge from the bottom side up so it matches this. And then as we come inside, from about right here in, we'll change up. I want to make sure I do these outside edges more to match the rest of the body, and then we'll do the inside edges more to match the lighter colors that we'll put in. Just a little bit on the edges, pull it with your silicone blade, and we'll use this. It's okay if we get some over, and pull it. That way we still have all of the colors at the same time. Now I'm going to push this back and I'm going to move you up. I hope I'm not making you dizzy. A little bit more eucalyptus on the blade. I'll put some on and let's move it. Let's move it around. I'll do this side as well. I don't know if I can get you back far enough. There we go. Yes, I can. There we go. There we go. And if it's too much, spritz it. Don't oversaturate it. And just pull some of it off. Pull some of it down. Tamp it off. You don't want a muddy mess. Roll the edge again. There we go. I think we should blend just fine from here. How about that? Looking just about the same. All right, now that was our eucalyptus. We have our base of peacock feather blue. Now we need to shift. I'm gonna grab a paper towel. Got one right here. I'm just gonna wipe the edge off because unlike my paint brushes, which I have to soak, I can just wipe the blade off and it's clean and it's ready to go again. I keep paper towels and I keep my baby wipes really handy. Let's, we need to hit this with our Farmhouse Navy. We do, so that we have a cohesive look to this outside edge with the rest of the body. So I'll back it up just a little bit. Just a teeny touch of Farmhouse Navy Midnight Blend. And I'll put some across here. On this outside edge, whatever it is, it will be just fine because we're gonna go over the inside of this edge with our other colors. All right, now's the time to spritz. Since there's just a tiny little bit, we want it to move. We don't want it to stay in those harsh lines. Up around this bottom edge. Bring that Farmhouse Navy up with the eucalyptus. Bring that Farmhouse Navy around that corner right there, looking good. And even come across to make sure you've got it put. Make sure you've got it put. I'm a little bit richer on this side than I am on this side, so we're gonna fix that right quick. A little bit of pulling action, a little bit of downstroke, and then we have just about the same tone on each side, and that's what we're going for. Now, smooth that out just a little bit. Gonna put just a touch more Farmhouse in here. There we go. Let it sit for just a second. We'll pull that across the front, and then we will move it around. There we go, so it matches the rest of the body. Oh, I'm loving this. Hearts if you love it. Questions if you're not sure. Let's put the Farmhouse Navy away for just a minute. I'm gonna move you back in right here, and I'm gonna tip you down so you can see this part. I am gonna put my Miracle Brush in the water, and that way we don't dry it out. All right, Coastal Gray, True Gray. We will use the two grays. Good morning, Miss Judy. We're going to use the two grays exactly like we used the eucalyptus and the Farmhouse Navy. So we'll start with our True Gray first. Now, this is going to be necessary. It's not going to be easy because we're going into such a small area. It's really tight. So we'll start in the back, of course, because that's logically where we're supposed to start. I just missed on the first go round. Dampen my brushes, just the tip of my brush. Actually, I tell you what, I think I'm going to go to a little bit bigger brush. This has an angle to it, has a short handle. This is going to be kind of handy. Where did these brushes come from? Y'all, they came from Walmart. Walmart sells this really neat kit of brushes, and they're thin, they're short, and I can use these to manipulate this paint. And it doesn't matter if you cross hatch once you're in here. We do need to spritz it because we don't want this to pull. We don't want dry brushing, we want movement, right? So let me get that in there. I will set that down and let's get this blade to working. And it's just a little too big to go sideways. If I've got my big head in your way, I'm sorry. Good morning, Alice. How are you, honey? A lot warmer than we are, y'all, I swear. I did not want to turn the heat on in this building this morning. I didn't want to do it, but I knew if I wanted my paint to dry that I was going to have to. All right, I'll take any excess and run it over these edges. But I've got my True Gray on. My big blade is too big to go sideways, so I'm going to take my small blade and I'm going to do the pulling with the small blade. And it'll go up behind that shelf. It will. And I'm going to take my mister, a little bit of moisture on the inside again, so I can put the paint on. And I'm going to use my small blade on this side. Can you see that? Let me turn you a little bit. I'm just going to pull it up, cross hatch it, and pull the excess and put it on the rails. Because I don't want that gray to cover. I want it to move with. So there's our gray. There we go. And I can pull it across these rails ever so gently. There we go. And it will dry quickly just simply because it's a thin layer of paint. It's not heavy. It's nice and thin. Let me move the camera down. Hold for just a second. I'm going to drop the camera just a little bit. Let's focus on this inside right there. That way you can see as the layers go on. All right. That's as far as I can move the camera that way, but I think I need to, nope, going the wrong way. I'll just set it down and leave it alone. How about that? There we go. Now you've got a good visual of the inside. And I will, let's see. I'll put my camera right there. So that lights up the inside so you can see it better. Oh, that's perfect. There we go. Now, I need to get my Coastal Gray in here. My well-loved Coastal Gray. Shake these up. I shook mine before we started, cracked the lids to make sure we weren't stuck. Had to get my multi-tool out. But guess what? Lid came off. Just fine. All right. I'm going to wipe the edge of my small blade off because this is all I'm working toward right here is this small addition of color. Little dip in the Coastal Gray. I wiped off the edges. I've still got a little bit too much. I don't want a heavy load of Coastal Gray on here. You can see how much is on there, can't you? That's about all I want. Not a heavy load. Let's go to this back side, and we'll do just like we did with the Farmhouse Navy, and I may put some Farmhouse in here yet. But let's get some of this off the blade because it's heavy. And I might need to spritz again because I don't want this to dry. Here's the challenging part, y'all. It's such a small area. There we go. It's such a small area that I don't want the paint to dry, and I've got to be really careful which tools I use so that I get the coverage and the look that I intended. I don't want to cover my blue and my green. I still have a little bit of white in there. And I don't want my grays to cover each other. I want them to coordinate. I want them to work together. And the blade gives me the ability to pull that color over color without mixing the colors. And I love that. I'm going to spritz this because I don't want harsh lines. And I'll see if I can turn you just a little bit so you can see this inside. We want to make it match this inside. Here we go. Pull it gently. It's going to be very liquid at this point because I sprayed. It's going to run. Just catch it and move it. And if you have wood grain, this has a little bit of wood grain going on. If you have some wood grain, it's going to give you a really fantastic finish. Miss Judy, I just washed this sweater last night. You can't see things on camera sometimes. My red buffalo check is currently at home in timeout because I got resin on the inside of the sleeve, and that's just driving me crazy. Got it on my little cuff side, and I've got to figure out how to get it off because that's one of my favorite sweaters. I love this one too. How do I not have it all over my arm? I do. See that? I do. It'll wash off. This is Rethunk Junk paint. It will wash right off. A little bit of elbow grease, pun intended. All right, I'm going to move the light so you can see that inside edge. I believe I need to let it dry and see how it looks. I like it. It's much lighter than the outside. Once I put the glaze on it, it might give me a little bit different tone, and I might like that a little bit better. All right, I'm going to set this back just a little bit and shine you up straight, just a little bit straighter than that. And let's do this inside edge right here. There we go. So I'll just take my gray down the line, both sides. I can't even see this one, but I'm positive I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm just pulling it down. It's a little dry. There we go. Give it a little bit of movement, a little bit of moisture, not a lot. I don't want to drip paint this. Catch the drips, move your color. There we go. Just like that. Catch the drips, move your color. Let me turn this so I can see. Yeah, that's just fine. There we go. Not hard at all, is it, y'all? Just gentle, smooth movements, just coordinating colors. And this is going to be a really neat wine rack when we're finished. I am going to do the glazing. I am going to dual glaze it like I did the outside. And I love the look. Let me show you one more time. Because this is classic black glaze over all the coloring, and it's white glaze. I did the soft white glaze first, so if you can see in this crevice right here, there's a lot of settling of the white glaze. I really like that look. To me, when you're aging something, it's not just about it looking dark and decrepit. It's dusty, faded, almost back to the original tone. The white, to me, gives it such a unique aging finish. So I love that we have soft white glaze to work with. And then I did the black glaze over the top of it. I was heavy on this side with the black glaze. After I did my demo, we were so busy that this side dried before I could move the glaze. So I just took my color and I blended my color back in to lighten some of that glaze. You can see the highlights right here. I even took some of my white and blended back in. I love to give highlights after I glaze something. It gives it a really neat effect. This is looking really good. I've got a little bit of drop of drip right there. I'm going to tamp that off just like it was the glaze. I'm going to tamp right inside here. I'm loving this. I love the way this looks. And now I'm kind of excited about it drying and being able to put the finishing touches of transfer embellishments on this. Let's get a little more of the dark in here. And I really, looking at it, think we'll either need to use Farmhouse, which would make sense, right? Or I think we might even have to use some Cloud. Pardon me. Seasonal allergies, changes in the temperatures, the environment, they've been getting all of us lately. I'm not wearing a mask, and I'm not going to, but I'll tell you, like I told my child going to school, don't get in anybody's face, don't let anybody get in your face, because RSV is a real thing right now, and the babies are getting really sick. Some of the mamas are getting really sick from taking care of the sick babies, so just be cautious. Pardon me for sneezing. And I'm not lecturing, but I know a lot of people who just don't need RSV. None of us do. None of those babies need RSV. All right. A little bit on the railings right here. I think I'm going to let my peacock feather. Ooh, look at that effect. That's kind of neat. My blade is just not wide enough to make this move right here. But boy, that looks cool. Can you see that? Look inside. Look what it did. It sort of pulled the blue off the white and made a neat little line. I'm not sure that I'm digging on it because the blade doesn't fit right. Let's see what this does. I love an experimental project, y'all. It's how I learn what not to do. This might be one of those instances, but I don't know. This is looking kind of neat, kind of sketchy color. I don't know, let's see. I might want to take it back to full-on blue, but I like that. All right, We're going for it. We're gonna make all of the bottom look like that. Can you see? Move my Farmhouse Navy and try not to knock over any of the cameras. Bless her, Laura was holding the baby the other day when she did Thursday at 3, and when she handed Ellie to Tom, she knocked her microphone off and couldn't find it, and she, I know, was devastated. She's never seen me knock over a camera, has she? Because then she wouldn't feel so bad. Things are going to happen when you go live. They just are. Because you're live, and if you make a mistake, you can't control the outcome. It's just going to be a mistake. I kind of like this. I think I like it better than the solid blue in there. All right, let's move this in its own little space. There we go. There we go. Oh, I like that. A little bit over the top here. A little bit on the sides. I really love the way the inside looks. Yes, it is different than the outside. And yes, I'm totally okay with that. The gray does a little bit different job than the green. The coastal gray does not do the same job as the Farmhouse Navy. And while I'm almost afraid to put Farmhouse Navy on it, I'm not. It's just paint. Let's hit that back side and that edge, and let's put some of this Farmhouse Navy in. I'm going to use my small blade this time because my big blade is just not going to go in there the right way. I have a little bit too much on, but we're going to do two sides when we do this, okay? I'm going to see if I can't make sure the camera light is giving you a good visual. And I will put that in, a little bit on these edges too. We might even do some on the inside since we have it to spend. All right, there we go. Pull it across, pull it up, pull it across again, soften it as you go, move it, let it just be a shadow of what you're working with. No harsh lines, a little bit more spritz. Oh yeah, that gives it movement. That gives it some good depth of color. That gives us everything that makes the inside a cohesive look. And makes it coordinate with the outside. Absolutely love the Farmhouse Navy with it. What you think? What you think? Oh, thank you, y'all. Thank you so much. We have 75-degree temperature forecast for today, and we started at 44. So it's it wreaks havoc on us, but we live and we paint. We live and we paint. What you think about that? I think I love it. I think it's gonna look amazing, and I think once the color is completely on, and we start the embellishing, this is going to be the most amazing wine rack cabinet like ever. It just, I love the shape of it. I don't know who designed it, where it came from. I was just fortunate enough to catch hold of it. And that is just the coolest wine rack ever. Love the legs. Love the inside. Wish I could have gotten the shelves out of it, but it's okay. We have the tools to work around the small areas between the Miracle Sponge, the Miracle Brush, my little cheap Walmart brushes, and our silicone blades. I can finish the inside of this in probably the next 30 minutes if I'm not worried about sticking my big head right in front of the camera. And once the inside is done, we can embellish. And I'm really excited about what we have that we can work with. I might even go live again today and do another special edition Coffee and Create to finish this up. If I get to that point where some of my book work is done and my business owner self can transfer right straight back into my, hey, I'm going to refinish something self, I will post it and we'll go live again and we'll finish this cabinet up today. I hope that we get that opportunity. And if we do, I hope that you have the opportunity to join us again. Maybe, fingers crossed, maybe a special edition Coffee and Create today. We'll see what we can do. And don't forget Thursday evening, our Bring It To You live sale. I've been playing with some buttons and I have some really neat things to share with you. Stay tuned for all of that. It is time to start decorating for the holidays, and if you have not seen the brand new color collections from Wreath Junk, we have featured the Classic Christmas, we have featured the Merry and Bright. Some of these colors have to be mixed, but you know what? They're equal parts of each color. I think we will do another special edition and I will show you how to make your mixes and use some of them to make your home holiday ready. It doesn't have to be all Christmas yet. You can do a little bit of Christmas because this weekend, first of the week, is Halloween. We have to get through the pumpkins first. But then guess what? Tuesday next week is the 1st of November. I can't believe it. I can't believe we've gotten through this much of our year this fast. It has been an amazing journey and I thank you for sharing it with me. I'm Diane here at Two Girls Treasure. We're in Florence, South Carolina, open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. And we're online, available anytime. Thank you so much for watching today. I will look forward to seeing you again real soon. Have a wonderful day.